Traffic problems on Route 206 didn't happen overnight. Before we take a drive on the Hillsborough Bypass, Richard will briefly explain why congestion between Somerville and Montgomery Township has lingered for decades, and why many proposed fixes never made it past the planning stage.
In the early 1970s, state planners began studying the widening of Route 206 between the Somerville Circle and Princeton. By the mid-1970s, however, discussions shifted toward redirecting funds originally earmarked for the proposed Somerset Freeway toward other highway improvements and mass transit projects. By the late 1970s, Hillsborough Township publicly announced plans to relocate Route 206 onto a new bypass rather than widening the existing roadway, citing high accident and fatality rates along the original alignment. These discussions continued into the early 1980s as the fate of the Somerset Freeway remained uncertain. In late 1982, the Somerset Freeway was officially abandoned. Around the same time, a new proposal emerged for an 8-mile, $70 million Somerset Expressway. The expressway would have followed much of the cancelled freeway's planned corridor, stretching from the Hillsborough-Montgomery border through Franklin Township and terminating at Interstate 287. Rapid residential development in Hillsborough and Franklin Townships added urgency to the proposal. The Somerset Expressway would have provided a new crossing over the Delaware and Raritan Canal, bypassing the narrow bridge on Amwell Road, and would have tied directly into the planned Hillsborough Bypass and a widened Route 206. Both municipalities viewed the expressway as a key tool for attracting industrial development. By the late 1980s, however, momentum for the Somerset Expressway faded, and the project was ultimately cancelled. In September of 1988, an environmental impact statement was prepared, and attention returned to widening Route 206 itself. By March of 1989, the Federal Highway Administration approved plans to widen the 14-mile stretch between the Somerville Circle and County Route 518 in Montgomery Township. By the early 1990s, Montgomery Township had become one of the biggest obstacles to widening Route 206. After years of lawsuits and public opposition, the township cut a deal with the state. New Jersey would help improve several dangerous intersections, but in exchange, the state agreed not to consider widening Route 206 through Montgomery until at least 2005. While the agreement addressed local safety concerns, it effectively froze long-term improvements on one of central New Jersey's busiest north-south corridors for more than a decade. However, the first tangible step toward modernizing Route 206 came in the early 1990s with the reconstruction of the Somerville Circle. Nearly a decade later, construction finally resumed in 1999 on a scaled-down $46 million widening of a 3-mile segment of Route 206 through Raritan, Somerville, and into Hillsborough. That project was completed in 2003. Work on the long-planned Hillsborough Bypass finally began in 2010. The first segment opened in 2013, and the bypass was fully completed by 2021, bringing an end to nearly half a century of planning, debate, and delayed construction along Route 206. Construction on the next phase of the Route 206 widening between Doctors Way and Valley Road began in 2021. The project was delayed for approximately 16 months due to issues with the original contractor. A new contractor has since taken over the work, but as of this writing, the corridor remains under construction. The state has set an optimistic completion target of November 2026. One of the project's major challenges is the Norfolk Southern Railroad Bridge over Route 206, which will need to be replaced as part of the widening.
With that context in place, let's get on the Hillsborough Bypass.
While the state routinely cites environmental concerns, it cut costs by omitting a partial cloverleaf interchange here at Amwell Road, a decision that preserves stop-and-go traffic, which in turn creates higher vehicular emissions.
Do you remember